The red deserts of Mars stretched endlessly around Outpost 17, a small human base forgotten by most of the Solar Alliance. Dust storms howled like restless ghosts, covering everything in a thin layer of orange powder. Inside the lonely outpost, Captain Ryan Hale sat by a cracked window, sipping cold recycled coffee and listening to the hum of old machines. Ryan had served in the Earth fleet for 20 years before choosing silence over war. He thought Mars would give him peace, no politics, no orders, no noise. His daily routine was simple: maintain the power grid, check the scanners, and send weekly reports that no one probably read. But that night, something changed. At 22:47 hours, his motion radar beeped. 2 faint life signs appeared outside the southern perimeter, far beyond any human zone. He frowned. Mars was lifeless except for small mining drones, and no crew was scheduled near Outpost 17. Ryan adjusted the scanner again. The signals were weak, barely alive. Probably debris interference, he muttered, yet his instincts told him otherwise. Years of service had taught him that ignoring strange readings usually ended badly. He grabbed his oxygen mask, pulled on his coat, and stepped into the storm. Outside, the world was a blur of red dust and lightning. The wind pressed against his suit like a living wall. Using a handheld tracker, he followed the faint signals across rocky ground until his light found them. 2 small figures lying half-buried in the sand. They were not human. Their skin shimmered silver under the flashlight, and faint blue veins glowed beneath it. They looked fragile, almost transparent. One of them, taller with long white hair, had wrapped her arm protectively around the smaller one. Their breathing was shallow and their clothes were torn, made of a fabric Ryan had never seen. For a moment, Ryan froze. He had read about alien species discovered near Jupiter colonies, but these 2 looked different. Ancient, elegant, and almost peaceful even in their pain. Whatever they were dying. Ryan made a decision without hesitation. "Hang on," he said softly through his comms, though they couldn't understand. He lifted the taller one first, then the smaller, carrying them carefully to his rover. The younger one's hand moved weakly, clutching his arm as if afraid he would disappear. He gave a reassuring nod. When he brought them inside the outpost, the heat and light made them flinch. He placed them near the main heater and fetched emergency medical supplies. One of them whispered in a faint musical voice, a sound both beautiful and broken. "It's okay," Ryan said calmly. "You're safe here." He gave them water first. They drank slowly, their eyes reflecting the glow of the fire. Then he opened a food pack. Basic nutrient paste, nothing fancy. But they ate as if it was a royal meal. The smaller one smiled shyly, her glowing eyes meeting his. The taller one nodded in gratitude, still too weak to speak. After an hour, he tried the universal translator he had stored from his old fleet days. The device beeped, then produced soft translated words from the taller sister. "I am Kaylara. This is Lyra, my sister," the voice said through the translator. "You are human?" Ryan nodded. "Yes, Captain Ryan Hale, you're safe." "What happened to you?" Kaylara hesitated. Her eyes dimmed with memory. "We fled. Our world was attacked. We ran. Our ship was destroyed." She looked toward the ceiling as if remembering stars far away. "We did not expect to survive." Ryan's expression softened. He had seen too many refugees of war, and their pain was familiar. "You're lucky I was awake," he said quietly, handing her another blanket. Mars nights can freeze a man solid. Lyra giggled softly at his words, a sound like wind chimes. It made the old soldier smile for the first time in years. Over the next few hours, Ryan repaired the outpost's communication system to send an alert to Earth. He also examined a small metallic device Kaylara had been holding. It was damaged and faintly pulsing with energy. "Is this a beacon?" he asked. "Yes," Kaylara replied. "It calls home. But it is broken." Ryan opened his toolkit. "Let's see if I can fix it." For the next 30 minutes, he worked carefully, soldering circuits and bypassing burnt connections. The sisters watched in silence, their eyes glowing brighter as the device began to hum again. Finally, the beacon emitted a soft tone, and its center lit with golden light. "There," Ryan said, wiping sweat from his forehead. "Good as new." Kaylara looked at him with surprise and something close to fear. "You repaired the Royal Code device," Ryan blinked. "Royal what?" Before she could answer, the beacon released a sharp pulse that filled the room with energy. The lights flickered. The hum of power generators increased. Ryan quickly placed the beacon on the table. What's it doing? It's sending our signal, Kaylara whispered. Her voice trembled. They will come for us. Who's they? Ryan asked. But before he could get an answer, the outpost's alarm systems blared. His radar lit up like fireworks, thousands of readings flooding the screen. He turned to the main console. No, that can't be right. He zoomed in on the display. 10,000 warp signatures were entering Mars orbit. Each ship was enormous, their energy readings off the charts. Ryan's heartbeat thundered in his ears. What did I just call here? Kaylara rose from the chair, her strength suddenly returning. Her posture changed, straight, regal, commanding. The air around her seemed to shimmer with authority. Lyra stood beside her, her earlier playfulness replaced by calm pride. You have saved the daughters of the High Empress of the Aurelian Dominion, Kaylara said softly. Our fleet has come to find us. Ryan stared through the observation window. The sky above Mars glowed with thousands of streaks of light as massive ships took position in orbit. Their formation was perfect, a silent wall of power surrounding the planet. 10 minutes ago, he had been alone on a forgotten outpost. Now the might of an entire alien empire hovered above his head. The communication console beeped again. A voice, deep, melodic, and full of command, filled the room through the translator. This is the Aurelian Imperial Fleet. Identify the human who protected our royal blood. Ryan looked at Kaylara in disbelief. She gave a small smile. They asked for you, Captain Hale. He swallowed hard, realizing what he had done. All I did was give you food. In our culture, Kaylara replied gently, to feed a stranger in need is the highest act of honor. You have shown more courage than most armies. Outside, the ships shimmered, forming a massive symbol above Mars, a glowing emblem of the Aurelian Empire. Earth scanners across the solar system began to buzz with panic, not knowing whether this was an invasion or a miracle. Ryan looked out at the endless sky, watching the armada settle in perfect silence. Guess I'm not getting that quiet life I wanted, he muttered. Kaylara smiled softly. Peace comes in many forms, Captain. Tonight you made history. The younger sister, Lyra, took his hand and whispered through the translator, Thank you. Ran, you saved us. As the red storm outside calmed, thousands of stars gleamed brighter above Mars. The lonely outpost that once echoed with emptiness now stood at the center of galactic attention. And Ryan Hale, the man who only wished for solitude, had just become the human who fed 2 alien sisters and summoned 10,000 warships. The red sky above Mars burned with the light of 10,000 alien ships. From Earth to the Moon, every scanner, satellite, and radar went wild. Governments panicked, fleets scrambled, and fear spread faster than light. No one knew what the aliens wanted or why they had appeared over a lonely Martian outpost. But inside Outpost 17, Captain Ryan Hale stood calmly between the 2 alien sisters, Kaylara and Lyra. His heart raced, yet his soldier's discipline kept him steady. The communication console buzzed again, and a deep, clear voice echoed through the room. This is Empress Sareth of the Aurelian Dominion. The one who saved my daughters will speak. Kaylara touched Ryan's arm. She wants to speak to you directly, she said softly. Ryan took a slow breath and stepped closer to the microphone. This is Captain Ryan Hale of the Mars Frontier Outpost. I didn't know who they were. I only helped because they needed it. For a moment, silence filled the air. Then the Empress's voice replied, warm but powerful. Your act of kindness will not be forgotten, human of Earth. You fed my children when the stars turned against them. You gave them life when death was near. For that, the Dominion owes you a debt beyond measure. Ryan blinked in surprise. You owe me nothing, Your Majesty. I only did what any decent person would do. Lyra smiled proudly while Kaylara looked at him with quiet respect. Outside, Mars trembled slightly as one of the colossal ships began to descend. Dust rose like red clouds and lightning flashed in the thin air. The Aurelian fleet wasn't invading, and they were saluting. The Empress herself was arriving. When the massive landing ship touched down, the air around Outpost 17 shimmered with golden energy. The door opened and Empress Sareth appeared, tall, graceful, and glowing with the same silver light as her daughters. Her presence filled the entire base like a sunrise. Ryan bowed slightly, unsure of what else to do. The Empress smiled gently. Rise, Captain Hale, your humility honors your people. He stood. Welcome to Mars, Your Majesty. Sereth approached him and placed her hand on his chest. Her touch was warm, almost human. In our culture, she said, to feed another being in need is the greatest symbol of peace. You have shown compassion when you had no reason to. You have done what our warriors and scholars have failed to do, bridge the stars with kindness. Ryan didn't know what to say. I just did what felt right. That, the Empress said softly, is why you are special. The meeting of two worlds within hours, communication channels between Earth and the Aurelian Dominion opened. Every human leader demanded answers, but instead of threats, they received a single message from the Empress. We come in gratitude, not conquest. The one called Ryan Hale has earned the protection and friendship of our empire. As long as he stands, humanity shall stand with him. The Earth Council, shocked and confused, quickly sent diplomats to Mars. They arrived 3 days later and found Mars' orbit surrounded by beautiful golden warships, each larger than an entire city. The Aurelians didn't attack. They simply waited, guarding the small outpost like it was sacred ground. Inside, Ryan tried to act normal. He helped Kaylara and Lyra recover from their injuries, shared stories of Earth, and answered their endless questions about human life. Lyra loved Earth music, especially old piano songs. Kaylara was fascinated by human courage, how a small species had reached the stars with fragile machines and unshakable will. You fight against darkness without fear, Kaylara told him one night as they watched the Martian sunset. Our people have forgotten such spirit. Ryan smiled. Humans are stubborn. We may be small, but we don't give up easily. She nodded. That is why I believe your kind will one day stand beside ours. A gift beyond imagination. A week later, the Empress invited Ryan aboard her flagship, the Orion's Light, the largest ship in orbit. It was a floating city of glass and light, filled with gardens, waterfalls, and music that seemed to come from the walls themselves. Ryan looked out at space through transparent corridors, seeing both Earth and Mars glowing in the distance. You have given much, the Empress said as she walked beside him. Now we shall give in return. She led him into a chamber where a massive crystal hovered above a circular platform. This is an Aurelian core, she explained. It holds the energy of a dying star. With this, your world will never fear hunger, war, or darkness again. Ryan's eyes widened. You're giving this to humanity? The Empress nodded. Because of you. Because you showed us that kindness still lives among your kind. Within days, the Aurelians shared technology beyond imagination. Energy cores that never ran dry, healing fields that cured disease, and star maps that opened entire galaxies. Humanity, once small and struggling, suddenly stood at the edge of greatness, all because one man offered food to two strangers. The legend grows news, spread fast. Across Earth, Ryan's name became a symbol of unity. The media called him the human who changed the stars. Statues were built, songs were written, and children learned about his act of compassion. But Ryan never sought fame. He stayed on Mars, working quietly as the first human ambassador to the Aurelian Dominion. Kaylara and Lyra visited him often. The sisters saw him as family now, a part of their destiny. Together they helped build the first human Aurelian Alliance station, orbiting between Earth and Mars. During the opening ceremony, Kaylara stood beside Ryan and spoke to both species. This man showed us that strength is not in armies or weapons. It is in kindness. He fed us when we were weak, and through him, two worlds became one. The audience, humans and Aurelians alike, stood in silent awe. For the first time in history, two civilizations from different stars shared one dream. Peace and promise. Years passed peacefully. Humanity advanced rapidly with Aurelian guidance. Poverty ended. War stopped. New colonies spread through nearby systems built on cooperation, not conquest. Ryan grew older, but his heart remained the same, quiet, humble, and strong. Sometimes he would sit by the observation deck of the Alliance station, watching the stars. Lyra often joined him, her laughter bright and full of life. Kaylara would bring reports from distant colonies and tell him stories of how humans and Aurelians worked side by side. One evening, the Empress herself sent a private message to Ryan. You have done what no emperor or conqueror ever could. You have united hearts. For that, your name will live forever among the stars. Ryan simply replied, I just did what any human should. The final honor, When Ryan's life finally came to its quiet end many years later, the Aurelians honored him with the greatest ceremony their people knew. His name was etched on the celestial pillar, a monument that recorded the heroes of all known worlds. Across the galaxy, ships paused for 1 minute of silence. 10,000 Aurelian warships, the same ones that once arrived in fear and fury, now glowed in peaceful formation, sending beams of light toward Earth. Kalara and Lyra stood together at the ceremony. Lyra's voice trembled as she spoke. He was not of our blood, but he was our brother. His kindness changed everything. Kalara looked at the stars and smiled softly. One man's small act fed 2 lost souls and awakened 1,000 worlds to hope. Epilogue. The legacy of humanity centuries later, young cadets of both species studied the story of Captain Ryan Hale. His simple act of compassion became the foundation of the Galactic Charter of Unity, a promise that no life form would ever be left to suffer alone again. And somewhere in the archives of the Aurelian Dominion, a small, preserved food packet sat inside a crystal case, the same one Ryan had offered to 2 starving sisters on a quiet night on Mars. Beneath it, a single line was engraved in both languages. He fed 2 alien sisters and reminded the stars what it means to be human.